So welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out the Model D wireless. We're going to be tearing it down and showing every little bit of it to give you an idea of how to put it back together, how to take things out if you want to do that, just to give you an overall idea of the build quality as well. Now, if you're not familiar with my channel, it gives you the data and statistics to give you the competitive edge over your rivals. It also shows you some of the tweaks and mods that you need to do to help you fix some of your mice or improve them if you're finding them a little bit tricky, things like skates, switch replacements, stuff like that. So if you're not already, hit the like and subscribe button to make sure you get this content straight away. Now you'll see here the Model D has standard skates around 0.8mm thick, pretty normal. You need to know that if you want to change the skates, because that'll cause you some problems with lift-off distances if you're not careful, because they have quite a low lift-off distance, although on the Model D you can change this within the software. Not the best skates from Glorious, but what they normally would use. You could do some larger skates, which they do offer in this pack, which is pretty good. I'd probably opt to use those to give you a better glide. If you're not familiar how to take skates off and the techniques I'm using, I've done a video on this. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. There's a few different ways you can do it. I find that the lighter fluid is the best method. A few people say that it can damage the plastic. I'm still yet to see that. So it might depend on the lighter fluid itself, the type that you use. I use Zippo lighter fluid. Just weighing up the skates to see if there's a difference. Again, if you increase the size of the skates, you increase the weight. If you're particularly bothered about the weight, that's something to bear in mind, although I would still use larger skates. Now you'll see the only two screws are at the rear of this, so if you do need to take it apart, you don't need to take all 4 skates off, only the rear 2, using a standard screw here. Nothing special, no Torx screwdriver or anything weird. As long as you've got a small screwdriver here, you'll be able to get these off no problem. Just be careful when you put these back not to over tighten them, these are plastic. You don't want to do that. And then there's some clips down the side, and I use this sponge that you can get on my website, shop.beardybob.com, or link in the description. To prise it apart, it pings the clips off without damaging your fingers. Some of these are easy to do, some just destroy your hands, and also it's a little bit nicer for the clips. It comes apart nice and easy. Pretty common what we expect to see. We've got 1 ribbon cable and 2 on the rear as well. There you can see the inside. You'll also see they're using an interesting side switch PCB, a bit like what Razer do. You also see the Kale orange switches, the custom ones for the Model D here as well. Again, the same screw for the LED here for the scroll wheel. If you want to see these in slower time, you can check them out on my Twitch channel, Twitch Bearded Bob. I do some of the VODs now there as well. It's the full videos. These are all done on streams, as you can see. If you want to see this slowed down, that's the best place to go get them. It's interesting, they've also plastic riveted it here to stop people taking it out, which is a bit unusual. Obviously, no one was taking this apart, which is that rear screw out. So I just clip this off. This probably will void the warranty, so bear that in mind. And then we're looking at a pretty standard base. They've drilled underneath the label, which is nice to see. See some of the switches and diffusers. Got a good weight reduction here from Glorious on this Model D, with some reinforced pieces that we take out in a weight reduction. I've already made one of these for Brandon Taylor, so check out the video on that. I did a weight reduction for one for him, sent that out to him to take a look at. So it's worth looking at that if you want to see how much weight you can get out of it. Scroll wheel, I'm not a fan of these scroll wheels from Glorious. This is a pretty stock scroll wheel though. It's also got the increased dimps in the top of it, which kind of annoy me, but you can easily swap this out for something else. Again, the rubber is also glued in, so you can't change that, so you're stuck with what you've got there. We're also using a Haranu green dot black shell. Shame they're not using a Kale 8 in there as well. Bit annoying. If you're wondering what the difference with these Kales are, there is no difference. These are just Kales designed for Glorious. They might have binned them to try and get a bit more of a common force, but they're a commonly used switch now, which is good to see. They've also got a block extending the Haranu here, so if you want to change out that one, you're going to need to be careful of the length of the pins. It looks like it's using a F switch encoder as well. It's also got a glued in prism on the bottom, which is different. Normally they come off, this one's stuck on it. It's using a 3370 sensor. A little bit heavier than most PCBs, they normally come in around 11 grams, so a little bit heavier than normal. Get some measurements here for you in case you want to put it into another mouse. If you've been watching my channel, we know we do a lot of mods, so I know a lot of people want to see different PCBs and put them into different mice, and this is what we do this test for, so you can see where you can put them in. The F-switch encoder is a green core. Glorious also using a slightly thicker PCB than most are 0.8mm. This is 1mm, nothing to be worried about. It's also using a 13mm encoder. Some measurements now for the scroll wheel, something I would look at changing, but personal preference. It's also got to find a donor mouse or a donor scroll wheel. You can use the Razer Death Adder one on this, I'm pretty sure, that's why I swapped it to. If you need to, you can get that off AliExpress. You can see they're using a similar setup to what Razer do with the side buttons, where they're stretching them across the top of the shell. This allows it to protect against a little bit of flex. So what this additional bridging does on the shell, it stops it from flexing, which is good. They've also got an additional bracket, but it's riveted in as well. And this does help with the flex on the sides. A little bit tricky to get out. You have to play on a little bit. You can see that bridging part's attached to the side switches, which are Haranu black shell green dots. It's good to see they're using 2 switches in here. Again, I'd like to have seen these to be KLs. You can also now see the battery that they're using on here, which is hidden in that top component. Quite a significant piece of weight there, 15 grams for all that. Don't know what this sticker is on top of the battery. Someone let me know in the comments. People think it's to do with heat. I'm not sure. I don't understand why it would create that much heat, which they generally don't, but it's a bit unusual. And they're using the same foam tape underneath to hold the battery in place, which just makes a total mess when you take it off. If you want to replace this, it's a 3-pin 1.5mm JS2. It's the 3.7 volt battery, and it's a 450 milliamp one. This is pretty big for 450 milliamp. Comes in at nearly 9 grams. Now I'm just going to try and clean it up a little bit because, like I said, it's totally messy. So I'm using some alcohol wipes just so I can get a better look at it. But it's a mess. Even that little bit of foam is weighing 0.06 of a gram. Try and get as much off as I can, but there is still some on it. It's just difficult, so I'd recommend not taking it off unless you want to take the battery out and you want to swap it yourself, as you're going through all this pain as well. Now down to 6 grams out of the battery on it. The remaining pieces, we've got the side buttons in there, ping out pretty standard. They sit on some little pins. You can see the little holes in them. Trying to change the design a little bit, but overall very similar to what the people use when it a gram themselves. I'm just taking a look to see how to pull out the side parts for the RGB. This is where it's stored here. You can see they've got a solid piece that the RGB sits on each side, and then there's some little clips at the top. You can also see the DPI button is riveted in, so you won't be able to get that out easily. And we'll take the rear panel off first to get a better look. Again, using the plunger just to prise it away from the top shell. Just be very careful, these are pretty fragile. Rear panel comes in at nearly 4 grams. Now we see the rear side parts. You can see after that for the RGB. There's 2 little clips on the middle of the shell, which is designed pretty commonly for removing the top buttons, the main left and right. Again, they'll probably hurt your fingers trying to get these out. Pretty common design now. Some decent strength in these so they don't split and move around when they're actually on the mouse themselves. As you can see, limited movement, it's good. You can see they've also got an additional post there trying to stop that from moving. A little bit of a different design there from Glorious. Like I said, if you want to see this in a bit of slow motion, go check it out on Twitch at Bearded Bob. The main button's coming around 6 grams. Side button diffusers come off. They're again little pins at the end. Just be careful not to snap them off, and they're also clipped, coming at 0.5 gram each. For the diffusers, we'll be doing a weight reduction on this and showing you how to get some weight out of it. And then we've got the RGB strips, which are glued on with the ribbons as well at the rear to connect to the PCB. So just be careful when pulling these off. Only take them off if you really want to, because you will run the risk of actually damaging them themselves. One thing that I didn't take off is the mirrored inside piece. I forgot, or didn't realise it was there. Weighs about 0.2 grams each side. Helps reflect the RGB out. Bit of excess glue, which you expect. Doesn't always come off the easiest. So when you want to put these back on, you might have to put some additional adhesive down. Bear that in mind. The main shell is 13 grams, and that's it. That's the Model D wireless torn down. Not bad. Hope you like this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. I've just done the G303 as well from Shroud. And I'll see you very soon. Catch you later. Bye bye.